So how do you buy a used bike? Well, we've been doing it for years and we thought we'd share some tips for you of what to look for when you're buying a used bike. I've got 5 points that you can summarize and we're going to look through each of them in a bit more detail. The first thing that you're going to want to look at is the listing versus what's pictured. So things that you're looking at here are, is the spec what has been listed in the pictures? Do they match? Has the seller described what is actually there? You're looking at this when you're looking at the spec online, and also when you show up, you want to make sure that what the seller has said they have is what they actually have. Beyond this, you're also looking at just the general condition of it. Has it been kept clean or is it dirty? Because if a bike's dirty and grimy, it's a good sign that it probably hasn't been very well looked after, and this means a lot of the components can be worn out and you could be in for a big bill after buying the bike. The second thing that you want to look at is wheels and tires, sort of general condition of those. When we're looking at wheels, most of the time now we're looking at disc brakes. So the things that you're looking at are over the rims. We want to just make sure there's no damage to those, especially if you're looking at carbon rims. Just want to look for any marks or sort of damages that's there, make sure there's no cracks. The other thing that you want to look at specifically is around the nipple holes on carbon rims. You want to make sure that there's no little like hairline marks or anything like that. It's a sign of cracking and it means that that rim is essentially dead. So you don't want to be getting into that. The other thing I'd be looking at is by the hubs, you're looking for any corrosion there. Again, this is a bad sign. You want to make sure those are in good condition. So again, just looking at all those contact points on the rim condition itself. And then the other thing to consider is the tires. Are they in good condition? Just have a spin over the wheel and just have a look over the tires. Do they have lots of cuts in them? Sort of, are they worn out and starting to have like the rubber degrade on it? It looks a bit fuzzy almost. Because the thing that you want to consider here is a pair of tires is actually quite expensive these days, and that can also add to the cost of the bike after you buy it. So the third thing that you want to look at is your drivetrain. Now, this is very important that it is in working order, but probably one of the easier things to fix if it's not. So the thing to do here is, if you can, sort of pick the bike up and just pedal it over, change through the gears and make sure it actually hits each of those gear shift changes in every gear. It goes the whole way up in the rear and the whole way down. Likewise, if it is 2-bar, you want to make sure that front derailleur is working well. It's not sort of battling to shift or anything. The things to consider here, if it's electronic shifting, your gear shift should be perfect every single time. If it's manual, it might be struggling to go one way. There could be a tune-up, but this could be a sign that the drivetrain is also worn out. So if you want to go in a bit more depth and you know what you're looking at here, you want to be looking at the chain wear. This can be done with the use of a tool and you can see how worn it is. The other thing that you want to look at is the condition of your chain rings and cassette. Are those teeth starting to wear out and sort of look a bit more like shark's teeth, or are they still nice and flush and new? These things can be quite expensive to replace, but again, they are easier to replace in the cost of the bike. So the fourth thing that you want to look at, and this is probably one of the biggest, again, is the frame. A lot of bikes you're looking at these days will be carbon frames. So you want to make sure there's no damage, there's no cracks, there's nothing hiding there. And one of the things I was taught with this is what's happening on the paint is a really good reflection of what's happening underneath with the carbon. So if you see any sort of cracks or lines or anything on the paint, it probably means the carbon underneath is also cracked and has done the same thing. Now, the way to do this, and the best thing, is a visual inspection. You want to be very thorough with this and take your time. The thing to remember here is if you rush over this check over and it is cracked later, that frame is pretty much dead or needs a very expensive repair, and that is super, super costly. So a basic way to do this is literally start from one end of the bike and slowly make your way over each tube and looking in the junctions. You also want to take a few different angles on this and just have a look at it. So when I do this, I would sort of start at one end of the bike and literally just go up and down each tube that you go along the bike until you've done the whole side. The other thing is then to go onto the other side and do the same thing. Now, Some key things that you may want to look at here, and some areas that we see probably more frequently than others. It doesn't mean these are the only, but would be your seat stays, especially towards the middle even, your top tube towards the middle, and your junctions around here on the seat post. They take quite a lot of stress. Now you can see some cracking etc. here, and there's more common places for a bike to break with wear. The other thing to check that happens quite often with drop chains, especially where you've got 2-bar derailleurs in the front, is behind the crankset around the BB junction. There can be damage from the chain wrapping around and hitting or getting crushed or anything like that. So try just move the crankset around slowly and have a look for any damage behind there. So the continuation of this is just if you have any other carbon components, you want to check those too. So your seat posts, bars, stems, anything else like that, have a look over it. Even saddles, have a look at your saddle rails if they're carbon and where they join underneath on the saddle base. The other key thing to look at is, this bike's got a cockpit, but a lot of our bikes have stems and bars. Have a look at where that stem is clamping on the bar. Make sure it's not damaged and crushed under there. Any sort of fracture lines towards the side, real bad sign. Beyond that, if you do want to go really in depth and you have the mechanical know-how, take the stem off and just have a look at that stereo tube to make sure it's got no damage underneath from the stem. So the fifth thing, and this is probably one of the more fun things about checking over a bike, is take it for a test ride. There may be things that you don't really pick up when you're checking over the bike. There may be things that you can't feel when it's just stationary. So take it for a little ride and just make sure it's performing well. Do a few shifts, check the brakes out, that they're feeling good, that they're actually stopping, and just see how it feels. You may also start to hear other noises, and this may warrant further investigation to other areas, and it just gives you a feeling. When you're doing this as well, and you've done this, my last thing to check when I finish a test ride would just be the wheels and the wheel bearings in that, to see how they feel and give them a wiggle. They should be solid. Wheels are meant to go forwards, not side to side. So any wiggle there is a bad sign. So you've done all your checks, you're happy with what you're getting, it's time to make the buy. My one thing that I would always consider with this is I've checked over all these bits, and as I'm going, I'm making a bit of a list what might need to be replaced, and I want to factor this into the value of the bike. So if it needs tires and a chain and maybe some new bars or something, those are all things that affect the price negatively. If it doesn't need anything and it's actually in perfect condition, again, these affect it positively. So you don't want to be sort of under offering on something that may be in perfect condition. Likewise, if it does need a bit of work, you may be able to work something out with the seller for a bit of a negotiation on the price. If you're not too sure with these, try use reputable sellers, sort of not private sales. You may come to the likes of us or some other private resellers that have a bit of reputation. They may give you a warranty on it. You come to us, you get a 12-month warranty on things. So this just gives you a bit of peace of mind on all of those things, that you don't have to worry about that. If you're confident in what you're looking at, you can go ahead with it. If you are looking for something used and you do want the peace of mind that it is coming like new, you can check out our website today, cyclexchange.co.uk.